Good evening. In previous session, we have seen the concept of how to create a customized exception, or we can say it as a user-defined exception. And also we have seen predefined exceptions also in previous session. So in today's session, we are going to see about the concept of debugging. So first, let us see what is meant by debugging, and let us see how to how to implement the debugging concept by using a assert keyword. So first, let us see what is meant by debugging. Debugging. Okay, debugging. So the definition of this debugging means the process of identifying and what we have to do, we have to fix that process of identifying and fixing the bug, or we can bug is called debugging. Okay, now here we are not talking about the errors or exceptions. It is a concept of debugging means what? The process of identifying and fixing the bug. What is meant by? Let us see now. So that is nothing but mismatch between expected and original output, expected output and original output. Okay, now see, let us take one small example. So I want to perform the addition operation in my program, so that I am going to write 2 into 3. My actual, what is the output I need here? 5. What is the output it is going to generate? 6. Because this expression is written here because I want to get addition of 2 plus 3, 2 and 3. But unfortunately, I have written what 2 into 3 here. That means here it is called as a bug. Here I have to overcome this bug by using the concept of debugging. So here, see what is the expected output? Expected output is 5. This is expected. What is the actual original output? This is the original output. Okay, that means here there is a bug. This is called as a bug. So to overcome this one, generally we will use print statement in between the our statements in our program. For example, just I will take a small example for this one. So see, I want to perform square of a particular number. So here I want to define one method function called as square. I want to square some value here. So what is meant by square? Square means x into x, or x square we can write. Okay, x power 2 I have to write. But unfortunately, I have written 2 into x. I thought that square is nothing but 2 into x. So here I am going to call that print of square method. Square of 10 I want to write here. So if I want to perform a square, generally what is the square of the 10? It has to give 100. So I am going to execute this program. So it has given me what? 20. That means what? Here there is no error or no exception here. There is a bug here. So for debugging, for finding that, for identifying that bug, I have to perform the concept of debugging. Okay. So now how I am going to perform this one? So common way to debug this type of bugs is we are going to use print statement. Okay. That means a small example I will take. Here I have shown you what is meant by bug. So to overcome this one, I am going to write the concept of print statements. So let us consider I will write some program here. Just I'm going to write here statement 1. So here after that, here I'm going to write 5 or 10 print statements. Only print statements I will write. Here this is what second statement, third statement, fourth statement. So to understand that up to statement 4, the process is correct, or the without any bugs it has executed. Now here I will write up to 4. Here I am writing what? Up to 4. Next I am going to print 3 more lines. Here 5 and here 6 I am going to write. Once again here I am going to write print of up to 6. Up to 6 I am going to write here. Next, I am going to write 7 and 8. After this, I am going to write up to 8. Now observe this program. Up to 8 I am going to write here, and two more statements I will write, that is 9 and 10. So let us consider okay. So now here we have written what 10 different statements I have written here. So whenever I am executing this program, okay, observe here, this is a 1,000 line program. For example, I'm going to tell this is a 1,000 line program. After 400 lines, this is a 400 lines. For example, I'm going to write one print statement. After 600 lines, I have written one print statement. After 800 lines, I have written one print statement. Why here I am going to write print statement means up to here, whether it is executed successfully or not, I will check here. So if there is any exception or if there is any problem up to here, that means if there is any bug here, then what can I do? Then I can understand that before going to print this statement only, something has happened here. So I can understand it, and I'm going to do what? I'm going to modify, or I'm going to debug here in this area only. Next, let us consider up to print up to 4. It is not having any bugs. We are not having any bugs. So next, what we are going to do? We are going to check up to print up to 6. That means here between this 4 and 6, if there is any bugging or not, if there is any bug occurred or not, I am going to check here. If there is any bug occurred after 4 and before 6, I will check in this area. Next, if there is no bug up to 6, then I will go to where? Statement 7, statement 8. Okay, and it will print it. Next, we are going to check what? That means here, this is what? Checkpoints, like a checkpoints. So if you are going to write these checkpoints, what happens? I can understand exactly where the output goes wrong, or output, because of which statement the output goes wrong, I can identify. It is easy to debug. For example, observe here. According to my case, what happens? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all statements are printed correctly. But unfortunately, here what happens means, here I have written some 56, for example. There is a small bug here. Okay, unfortunately, instead of having a statement 6, I have written statement 56. Okay, now I'm executing this program. So see, what is my expected output? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. But unfortunately, what happens here? There is a mistake. That means I can identify here in which statement I am having the bug, before up to 6 and after up to 4. That means in between this I am having some bug. So directly I will go to the print statement. I will start checking from here. Okay, in this line is there anything? Not there. In this line is there anything? Yes, there is a bug here. So that I'm going to change the debug that one, and after that I'm going to save my program and I'm going to execute. That means generally this is a small case I have taken, but if you are going to consider a real-time scenarios, what happens is the code will be very large. In that code, we may have thousands of lines may be there for our coding. So please wait 1 minute. Okay. Yes. Okay, now see here, in generally in our real-time applications, what happens? Nearly we will have some thousands of or hundreds of lines we are going to have. So to check each and every line, it may take so much time it may take. So that what we are going to write to debug the type of uh, your program, you are going to write what? Print statements in between your program. So now what happens? I have completed my debugging also here. So my program was successfully completed, so that I got my answer. So after getting my answer, what I have to do? I have to remove these checkpoints or print statements I have to remove. So here I have written only 3 print statements, for example. So what I have to do? Once again, I have to, this is the additional duty I am going to do now. additional work I am going to do. I have to remove this one. In the small case, in the case of 10 lines, I have written 3 lines. If I am going to write the 1000 lines code, how many print statements should be there? Generally, I will use nearly 50 to 60 print statements I may use, or at least 10 print statements I may use. So that after completing the concept of debugging, once again, I have to remove the print statements. So that it is a small disadvantage we are going to have by using this concept of print statements in between the program for debugging concept. So to overcome this one, I am going for the concept of assert keyword. Okay, I will briefly explain once again. So what is meant by debugging? The process of identifying and fixing the bug is called as a debugging. So what is meant by exactly bug means mismatch between expected output and original output. That means if I'm going to expect some output from your program, that is what I'm expecting 6, I'm going to expect what 5, sorry 5 I'm going to expect, but original output is what 6. That means there is a small problem here, there is a bug here. That means I am going to change this one as plus. So 2 plus 3 is what 5. So this is a single line expression I have taken. But if you are going to take multiple lines, for example, multiple lines we are going to take, that is 1 to 1000 lines you are going to take. So here in this there is no concept of exception or error, but there is a chance of having bugs here. So I want to identify that bugs. That means I want to debug that. Generally what we are going to do means, here I will write one print statement, here I will write one print statement, here I will write some print statement, here I will write some print statement. For what I am going to write print statement means, so to identify where the bug is, up to here, is the program is successfully executed or not. This line, that means this line will be printed here. For example, line 250 I'm going to write here. So before this, all the things go fine here, so that I will not check here while debugging. I'm not going to verify all these lines. After 240 and before 250, before 500, there is some mistake in my code. So I'm going to verify in between these lines only. So I will debug that one. I am going to modify that code, and what I'm going to do, and I'm going to save and execute once again. So after executing the program, what happens? The program is successfully executed. But what is the additional task we have to do? We have to remove all these print statements. Here in 1000 lines, I have taken 4 print statements. Generally, they will take 10 to 15 print statements if we want to take. So that it is an additional duty for us to remove all those print statements in our program. So to overcome this problem, I am going for a special keyword called as, or special statement called as assert. Assert is a keyword, or we can consider it as a statement. So what is the main advantage of this assert means? Okay, let us see now. So assert, from now I am going to use a keyword called as assert. So what is the main advantage of this one means? So till now what we have used, we are using the print statement. So after completing or after fixing the bugs, what we have to do, we have to delete all the print statements in our program. But if you are going to use the concept of assert, here what we have to do, no need of removing these assert statements. Whenever you want to use this, we can enable this one, or if you don't want to use, we can disable this one. So I'll show you that option also. So whenever you are going to write the assert statements in your program, no need of removing after debugging. If you want to use that assert statements in our program, we can leave it, we can enable it. Otherwise, if you don't want to see those statements, we can disable it. So we are having this option just by writing -o or something. I will show you that case. We can enable and disable the assert. This assert can be enabled or disabled. So there is no additional work we are going to do here after debugging concept. But there what we are going to do, there we are going to remove the print statements additionally. So it is taking some more time it may take. Okay, right. So now we are going to see different how many different type of assert statements are there. So there are 2 assert statements are there. First one is simple and second one is augmented. Okay, first one is what? Simple, and second one is augmented. Yes, these are the 2 types of assert statements we are having. So what is meant by a simple assert statement? Just I will show you the syntax. So we are going to write just a condition here. Simple means just we are going to write a condition. I am not going to print any message here. So if you want to pass any description for this assert statement, I have to go for this augmented. So generally we will use this augmented assert statements only. So here how the syntax will be there? Assert, some condition we are going to write, and after that condition I am going to write some description about this statement, that is about this condition. Here I am going to write what? Description. So these are the two types of assert statements we are having. One is simple and second one is augmented. So in first simple, what we are going to write the condition. I'm not going to print any description about that. Okay. Next here, what I'm going to, I want to print some description about that case. Okay. Now here we have to observe carefully that what is this condition, what is this condition, and what is this description. Let us see now. So generally if we are going to write any condition, it is going to return what? It is going to return true or it is going to return false. Only two options are there. One, it may be true or it may be false. Okay. If it is true, then the program will be continued from this line. Let us consider here we are having so many lines are there. Here I am writing some assert statement we are going to write. So up to here there is no problem, there is no bugs in my program. But here in this line, that means what? Here up to here there is no problem, so this condition will be satisfied here. Whatever the condition I'm going to write here, it is going to return true, so that it will be executed. For example, if something happens, that means what? It is not an error or exception, some bug has occurred in these lines, so that here I will write some condition. So if that condition is going to be false, what happens means the program will be stopped here. The program will be stopped here, so that by what it is going to stop? By throwing an assertion error. It is going to throw what? Or it is going to raise what? Assertion error, and it is going to stop my program. So why the program is stopped? That if you want to see the description, here write some description. Whatever the description you are going to write here, it will be printed here. It will be printed so that you can understand why my program is stopped. Okay. If it is true, there is no problem, your program will be continued without stopping, without getting any assertion error. Okay. Whenever the condition is failed, then what happens? The program will be terminated abnormally by raising which type of error? Assertion error. Okay. Now, so that by seeing this, what can I understand? By seeing this assertion error, what can I understand? I can analyze the code and I can fix the problem, because in this line I have written a assertion, assert statement. So that what can I understand? Okay, before this line there is some bug, so that I have to rectify, or I have to fix that bug. Okay. All right. Now, so here I have write only one assert statement. We can write any number of assert statements. Here I can write assert. Here I can write assert. Any number of assert statements we can write. Okay. This is about assert statements. Now, just I will write a small diagram how this assert condition is going to be worked. So here, if I am going to write assertion condition, okay, right. Now observe, if it is true, let us consider if it is true, what happens? If it is false, what happens? If it is true, what happens? The program will be executed successfully. There is no problem. Program will be executed successfully, or program will be executed. Okay, anyway, no problem. Our program will be continued for execution. Any statement is okay. Next, here, if it is false, what happens? Program is going to be terminated. Program is terminated abnormally. Okay, and rises what? Which type of error? Assertion error. And it is going to rise assertion error. So if you understand this case, we can go to a small example for this assert statements. So what happens? If you are going to write any assert condition, if it is going to return true, then what happens? Our program is going to execute continuously. There is no problem for that. If you are going, if that assert condition is false, then what happens? Your program is going to be terminated abnormally, and it is going to write what? Assertion error. So by this assertion error, what we can understand? That we can understand that there is some bug is there in my program before this assert statement, and I can go and I can fix that bug easily. Okay, right. Now I will take a small example here. Now see, right. Now I'm going to increment the age. Just I am going to take a method which is going to increment the age. So I am going to increment the age by 10. For example, this is a small example. Return age plus 10. That means those who are calling this method, or those who are calling this function, for them the age has to be increased by 10. Now see, just I am going to call print of age increment of 10. That means what happens? The answer, it has to be printed as what here? It has to print 20. Okay, next. Here same I will take for 2 or 3 statements. Okay, now observe here, 40 I am taking, 30 and 20. Now what happens? When I am going to call age increment of 10, it has to return which value? 20 it has to return. That means here 20 has to be printed, here 30 has to be printed, 40 has to be printed, and 50 has to be printed. Let us see whether it is going to print or not. So it is going to print 20, 30, 40 and 50. There is no problem here. But if it is a large program, let us consider, or I want to include some assert statements here. Now observe carefully. Here I am going to insert assert statements. So what is the condition I have to write here? Whenever I am going to call age increment, AGEINC function by passing a value 10. This is the condition what I am writing. Is it returning 20 or not? It is going to check. If it is not going to return that one, it is going to throw an assertion error by providing that what? Age should be 20. Okay, let us, I will modify that one. Observe carefully. Okay, here what I'm going to write? 30 I'm going to write. Here I'm going to write 30, and here when I'm called 20, we have to get 30. Next, here I'm going to write 40. Now see here, what is my concept here? Just I will read these 3 statements. So here my concept is, when I am calling the function called as age increment INC, it has to increment my age with 10. But this is my concept. Now what I have done, unfortunately, while writing the program, I have changed it to 20. If I change this to 20, what happens? My age is going to be incremented to what? 30. See here, when I call this age increment with 10, it is going to increment my age with what? 30. But actually my age has to be incremented by what? 10. So when I'm calling with 10 value, that is what, if I am passing 10 to age increment, it has to return what? 20, but it is returning what? 30. That means here there is a problem. In this statement there is a problem, so that I can understand clearly now. Now observe the output. See what happens. It is going to throw me what? Assertion error. Is there any syntactical error is there, or any exception raised in my program? No, actually there is no exception, that there is no errors here, but I am throwing a assertion error here. The reason is what? Here there is a concept of bug is there here. That means actually I want to write age plus 10, I want to write. Unfortunately, I have not written age plus 10, I have written what? Age plus 20. So to rectify that one, what I have to do? I have to use the concept of assertion, and I have to write some conditions and description of that. So observe now here, what happens? Assertion error. Age should be 20, so that I can understand that. See where we are going to get in this line, I am going to get. So I will go to that particular line and I will check. Okay, here I got an assertion error. That means before this line there is some problem. Otherwise, that means in this case there is a problem, not before this line. In this case, I am having some problem. For example, I will write this one here. Let us consider. Okay, and this one has been written here. Okay, now observe. I am going to write this one as 40 only, for example. Otherwise, here I am going to write this one as 10. And now if I execute this program, there will be no problem, output will be correct. But now here, just I'm going to modify. Here I'm going to write 20. I am going to write. Now what happens? When I'm calling this one, it will go to this one and it's going to return what? When I'm calling age increment of 10, the age is incrementing by 10. Then answer has to be what? 20. So if it is not 20, this is going to be raised. So already we have seen this one. So I'll remove this one now. Now observe. Here now what I am calling age increment of 20. I am calling this one with age increment of, sorry. Here I am calling what? Age increment of 20 here. When I am calling age increment of 20, this method is going to be called, and it is going to return what? 20 plus 20. It is going to give me 40. But according to my condition, I know that it has to be what? 30 only. but it is going to give me 40. That means internal there is small bug we are having here. Okay, so just it is going, then if there is a bug, what happens? It is going to stop my program abnormally, and it is going to throw me which error? Assertion error. And here whatever the description I am going to write, it is going to be thrown. Let us consider I don't want to write any description here. For example, what happens? Just it is going to throw assertion error. Where it is going to throw? In this particular line. Just I will go to that particular statement. So it is going to show me what? Line 4. I will go to line 4 here. Line 4 is what? Here the exception is raised. So that I will check that, okay, according to the condition age, if I increment the age, if the value is 20, the output should be 30. Then what happens here? Okay, why it is not 30? Because here unfortunately I have written what? 20. So here now if I execute this program, is there any problem for your program? There is no problem. The exact output is going to be printed. Okay, this is the concept of assertion. Here in first case, what happens? I have printed some description. Here second case, I have not taken any description, so the description is not going to be printed here. Okay, right. Now I will take one more example. So if you take more examples for this one, you will get a clear idea on these assertions. Now observe carefully. Second example I am going to take. So here I want to perform average of the marks. Second one is what? I want to perform average of the marks. So how to perform average of the marks? Generally, just I want to write some method here or function, define average. I'm going to write whatever the marks the user is going to send, I want to perform average of those marks. Generally, if I want to store marks, what? It is a group of values. So just I want to send some list. The user want to send a list of items here. So it has to return what? Return. Generally, what I'm going to do? Return. I have to perform the sum of all marks. We are having one sum is there. So here what we are having? Sum of marks. If I'm going to write sum of marks, it is going to perform all the values sum, and it is going to perform what? For example, sorry, just I will take one small example. The marks are 20, 30, 40. If I want to find the average of these marks, generally what I will do? 20 plus 30 plus 40 by what I have to do? Number of elements, that is 3. So it is going to give me what? 90 by 3. It is going to give me 30 as answer. So how I can perform in single statement? Means sum of marks. It is going to give me what? It is going to give me 9. And I want to find the length of the, that means how many elements are there. For that I am having one, what we can say, one function we are going to have, that is what? Length of marks. So by this, what I am going to get? I am going to get output as 30. I want to return that 30, those who are calling average. So here I am going to take one marks equal to empty list. I am going to take, and I am calling what? Otherwise here I will take some marks as 10, 20, 30 and 40. Okay, marks I have taken here. Just I want to call what? I want to call average of marks. That means what? All the marks are going to be passed to what? Here, average of marks. Now these values are passed here. So sum of marks. So marks containing what? 10, 20, 30, 40. So it is going to give me what? It is going to give me sum of all these values. That is nothing but 100. Okay, 70, 90, 100. And it is going to give you a length of marks. That means it is going to give you length of this marks list. That means how many elements are there in this marks? How many are there? 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's going to take what? 4. It is going to throw me what? Back. It's going to throw me what? 25. The answer will be 25. Here there is no problem. But where there is a chance of getting an assertion error or logical error here, or bugs, we can say what? A bug here. That means, unfortunately, without taking any, that means I'm not going to take this one here. Instead of this one, I'm going to take marks equal to empty, and I'm throwing what? Average of marks. If I tell without taking any values inside this list, and if I call average of marks, what happens here? It has to give me some assertion error, because I have to send something, so that whenever we are not going to pass any marks, then I have to write assert of len of marks. What happens if it is not equal to 0? Then what happens? If it is equal to 0, it is true. If it is not equal to 0 means what? Then I have to execute assert statement. Condition is what? Length of marks not equal to 0. This is the condition. If this condition is true, then I will execute this statement. If this condition is false, the program is going to be stopped in this statement only abnormally, and it is going to throw which error? Assertion error. Okay, this is the concept. Right, now see, here I am going to take define. I'm going to take one function that is nothing but average. I'm going to take, I want to perform average of what? Marks. Whatever the marks you are going to pass to me, I'm going to make an average. How to perform an average? I can perform an average by using directly return of. Otherwise, if you don't want to perform this type of activity, just write down sum equal to sum of marks. Okay, next. After that, we have to perform what? Average. So average equal to, otherwise I want to find the length. So length equal to len of what? Which length I want to find? Marks. So I'm going to write here. After this, I want to perform average. So avg equal to what? I have to write sum by len. I am going to write. Okay, this is the concept. First I will write without any assertion error here. So now I want to call this one by passing some marks. So just I am going to ask user to enter the marks. So for that I am going to take some marks equal to eval function. I am going to take, already you know what is going to be eval function. We have seen this one. Next I am asking the user to enter the marks. Enter the marks. Okay, right. Now observe. Here, after entering the marks, I want to call which method? Average of marks I want to call. Now observe carefully. Right, it is asking me to enter the marks. So I'm going to enter the marks 10 comma 20 comma 30, for example. Enter. So it's going to do me what? Local variable some reference before assignment. 1 minute. Here I'm going to sum equal to sum of marks. So here what happens? Sum is a method. Okay, anyway, this is, let us take S here. This is take L here. Okay, so here I have to perform what? L and S and L I have to write. So I'm going to take some values 10, 20 and 30. So it is telling me what? It's going to throw none. So whenever I'm going to pass 10, 20, 30 to this one, it's going to perform sum of marks. There will be what? Value is what? 50, 60 will be there. Length of marks. And I'm not returning anything. Sorry, I'm not returning anything here. I have to return average. Okay, now observe. So same example, 10 comma 20 comma 30 I'm going to take, and it is going to return me what? 20. That is the average. So 10, 20, 30, 50, 60 by 3, it is going to return me 20. That's correct. Average is fine now. Now second time when I'm executing this one, observe carefully. When I'm executing the same program, I have not entered any marks. So it has done me, it is going to perform what? Exception, but I don't want to get an exception here. But that means whenever you are passing no values to this average, then what happens is going to throw an exception. But we are talking about what? We are talking about debugging. So I don't want to get any type of exceptions here. I want to get an assertion error, because I'm not talking about exceptions now. I am talking about debugging. So just I will write what here before this. I will write some assert statement. So here what I'm going to write? Assert some condition I have to write. Which type of condition I can write here? Len of marks, or I can write direct len of marks is present in what? L. L not equal to 0. Not equal to 0. If this condition is true, I will execute the program, because I can perform average on what? If there are some values, if there is some sum, then only I can perform the average. Otherwise, just I want to throw what? Just I want to give a message that enter some marks. Enter some marks. Now observe carefully. Now I'm executing this one so that I don't want to throw. Let us consider 10, 20, 30. I am going to execute. So it's going to give me what? 20. There is no problem. Next case. Once again, I'm executing the same program. Unfortunately, I'm not having any marks. Okay. So what happens? Okay. It is asking some input. I have not given any input. Okay. So that I have to give some input here. Just I am not. Just I am giving empty brackets, for example. That means what? No marks has been given here. So that it is going to throw what? Assertion error. Enter some marks. The description is what? Please enter some marks. Otherwise, we can write what? If you are not going to enter any marks, how I can perform an average? You can write any type of message here. So that by seeing this, what can I understand? By seeing this, I can understand clearly that there is some, it is not an exception. It is what? An assertion error. That means there is some bug in our program. Bug is different from exception. We have to understand this one. Bug means what? We have to find out that bug. Exception means it is directly we can understand. Okay, bug means logical thing. Okay, so that I have to go to that bug and I have to check. Okay, so L is not equal to 0. Because of this condition, I got an assertion error. If this statement is not present, what happens? Observe this. We are going to get an exception. If this statement is not present, we are going to get an exception. But if this assert is there, we are going to get an assertion error. So here what happens? So based on this assertion error, we can understand that what is the condition here? L not equal to 0. If L not equal to 0, the program will be executed. But as this condition is going to be failed, assertion error is going to be raised. So that I can understand that. And what is L? I will check. So L means what? Length of marks. That means what? Length of marks is equal to 0. That means it is not equal to 0. If it is not equal to 0, it is nothing but what? 0 only. So I can understand that one, and I will change the input, or I will prompt the user to enter the marks. Just here I will prompt the user, enter at least one subject marks. I will write at least one subject marks. I will write so that he can understand easily. Okay, so now see. So by seeing this message, okay, enter at least one subject marks. Okay, just I will take, I got zeros in all subject, for example. At least I will enter what? 0 here. Okay, and I will perform this. So average is what? 0 only. But if you are not going to enter anything, it is different. If you are not going to enter anything, we are going to get what? Assertion error. If you are entering at least some marks, it may be 0 also. There is no problem. It is going to give the average. So but in this way, I can debug. By seeing this one, what can I understand? Okay, because of this, I am getting error. Who is the reason for this one? Programmer. So why? Because programmer is not going to enter that one. So if programmer has to enter that one, I have to write some message like this one. Okay, in this way I can use the assert for debugging concept. Okay, now, so otherwise we can write what? List is empty also. We can print here instead of this enter some marks. We can say what? List is empty. That means what? The programmer can understand that, okay, whatever the list I am going to send, it is empty. He can understand that, and he can what he can do? He can enter some marks. Now observe here what happens. The program is going to be executed successfully. Now the same program I will execute in this command prompt. Now see, 1 minute. Okay, so Python. Okay, now see, I'm going to enter some marks here. 10, 20, 30. I'm going to enter. I'm going to get 20 as average. So now here, I don't want to get, otherwise I have discussed one point that disabling and enabling. So for not to execute these assertion statements, we can follow one statement. That means whenever we are executing this program, I have to write -o. Okay, just see this one. So now what happens here? Assertion is executed, or otherwise once again I'll execute the program and I'm going to send empty list. I'm going to get what? Assertion error. Okay, I don't want to execute that assert statement. So while executing, what I have to do means, If I'm not executing that assert statement, which type of error I'm going to get? Exception I'm going to get. I am going to get zero division error. Observe that. So here I'm going to enter empty. I'm going to get what? Zero division error. Now observe clearly that in my program there is an assert statement is there. Again, why the exception is raised here? Because I told to my Python virtual machine not to execute assert statements in my program, so that it has not executed that. Okay, so that what happens, it is going to throw me an exception. This is one case. Now I will take 2 or 3 assert statements in my program, and after that I will execute my program. Okay, so we have seen many cases here. Finally I will take 10 or 15 statements here. So print what I am going to ask. First I want to ask user to enter a age equal to int. I want to convert the taken input as integer. So here what I am taking, enter the age of, otherwise I will ask enter the age here. So the student or any person is going to enter the age here. So if he is going to enter the age in first step, for example, after 5 years, otherwise after 5 years. After 5 years, what should be happen? His age should be 5 years. After 5 years, age should be what? 5 years. So that for that I am going to print what? Age plus 5. Okay. Next, after 10 years. After 10 years, what should be the age? Age should be 15. After 10 years means what? Age plus 10 it has to be. Okay. Right. Next, print here I am going to check some assert statement. Assert of after 10 years, what should be the age? His age should be compulsory. The age should be what? Age should be printed as something plus 10. That means age plus 10. So just I will save this one every time so that you will get a clarity. So here I will write age 5. For example, age 5 equal to age plus 5. I'm going to write. Okay. So after 5 years, what happens? Age plus 5. Otherwise, here I will write age 5 to represent that. Next, after 10 years, what happens? Age 10 I am going to take equal to whatever the age we are going to enter. From that I am going to add 10. So age plus 10. Now here I have to write what? One condition I have to write. Age 10 equal to, it should be what? It should be age plus 10 it has to be. Okay, after 10 years. Otherwise I have to throw a message that I want to give some message to the programmer that age is not correct. Age is not correct. Here. Okay, completed. The same program I will execute next 2 times. Same code. That is what here I am going to write after 15 years. Age should be what? Age plus 15. Here I will write 15. Okay, just this is a variable names. You can write anything. After 20 years, this is age 20. Here I am writing. After 20 years, whatever the age I have taken, that should be added with 20. Unfortunately, I have added with 10 here, for example. Okay, now see. Here age should be 20. Now I'm going to take once again here, just here I want to print only one statement. Print of and I want to print. Okay. Now observe the program. I'm going to execute this one. Just it is asking some age. I have entered 25 and see what happens. After 5 years, my age is what? 30. After 10 years, 35. After 15 years, 40. But after 20 years, it has to be what? 45. But it has printed was 35. It has printed what? 35. So it's going to throw me what? Assertion error. So that what can I understand? Before this assertion only, that means after this assertion error, the statements are not printed. Okay. So that I can go to where? Line 11. Line 11 I can go and I can understand that some problem is there here. I can change this one to what? 20. Now see, if I execute the program and if I given some age 25, sorry, 1 minute. Okay, if I execute the program now, and if I'm going to enter 25, what happens? Once again, it is going to throw me age is not correct. Because here what I have to write age 10, sorry, age 20 I have to write, sorry. So age 20 I have to write, and here I will write some 10 here, for example. Okay, first assertion error I will show you. 25. I'm going to get what? Correct answer here. 1 minute. After 20 years, age is 35. This is wrong. After 20, the age should be what? 40. No. So here it is going to check with what? Age 20 equal to. All right. This is what? Age plus 20. 1 minute. Let us check here. So this is called as a bug, so that we have to identify here. So age is what? 25. So age plus 5 is what? 25 plus 5, 30 here. Okay, so it's going to give me 30. After the 35 it's going to give me. After that it is going to give me what? 20. After 15 years. Okay, so okay, here what I have to write? Age 20 equal to age plus 20 I have to write, but it's going to give me what? It's going to give me 35 only. It is an error, so that I have to create that error here. Age 20 equal to, 1 minute, sorry, here I have to print what? Age 20 I have to print. Now observe carefully. Yes, now I am going to enter 25. Here I got 45. Age is correct, there is no problem. So if the age 20 is age plus 20 I have written. Unfortunately here I am writing some 10. Right, now observe. So see, 25 I have written. What happens? After 5 years the age is what? 30. After 10 years the age is 35. After 15 years the age is 40. After 20 years what has to be the age? 45. But I am getting errors what? 35 only. So that means what? It is an bug here. So that age is not correct. It is telling that age is not correct. So that what I have to check at line 11, I have to go to line 11. That is what, let us see here. So here this is what? This is line. This is what? Line 11. Here I got what? Assertion error. Because of this I got assertion error. So that above this one only I got some error. That means what? Above this one means what? Up to here I can check. I have to check. Reason is what? Before this one more assertion statement is there, so that there is a chance of getting a bug in between these two only. So I will check here. Okay, age plus 15. Okay, age 15 I have printed age 15. There is no problem here. Next, age plus 20 I have to print. So but I have written what? Age plus 10. So in this way I can debug and I can do this one. Now observe this one. If I execute this program, if I do this one, I got everything correct. Okay, right. Now I will make the bug here. Observe clearly, and I don't want to execute the assert statements. If you are not going to use the assert statement, program will be executed without any exceptions. But there is a bugging problem. Bugs will be there. For example, so by writing hyphen wo, this is a capital O, hyphen wo, if I am executing, if I am entering the age, the program will be executed successfully. Reason is what? Because I am not telling your Python virtual machine to execute assert statements by writing this hyphen wo. So your Python virtual machine will, what we can say, will not execute these assert statements. So that what? 25, 30, 35, 40, 35 end. The user, if he don't know any logic, he will think what? The program will be correct. Okay, so that what happens? So whenever there is a need of assertions, better don't write this type of hyphen wo. Better remove that one and execute the program. So what happens now? If there is any problem, it is going to throw what? Assertion error. So go to that one now. Go to that particular line and change the debug that one and again execute the program. Now what happens? You understand that. 1 minute. I will execute here. So you can understand what? I have modified the bug. Once again check that. So are you getting any assertion errors here? There is no assertion error. That means you can understand what? There is no concept of assertion error. So I want to disable that assertions now. So for disabling that assertions, what I am going to write? Python hyphen wo. So now see, if I enter 25, I'm going to get all correct outputs here. Okay, up to what you need the assert statements, up to debugging concept you require these assert statements. So after debugging, if there is no bugs in your program, is there any need of having the assert statements in your program? No, not there. So if it is not there, generally what we have to do, we have to remove. If it is a print statements, I have to remove. But these are what? Assert statements. But generally I don't want to execute it. If you don't want to execute assert statements, what I have to do? I have to execute my program with Python hyphen capital O sample.py. So if I execute this one, your Python virtual machine is going to neglect these statements, or it is not going to execute these statements. These two statements will not be executed by your Python virtual machine. So let us consider my code is having, for example, my code is having 40 assert statements, and if I write after debugging, if I execute this program by using -o, that means what? Your Python virtual machine is not going to execute those 40 assert statements. Then what happens? The program will be executed very fastly, because it is not going to bother about the assert statements. 40 lines, the code is going to be reduced. If I'm going to see, the difference between these two is, in this case, it is going to execute assert statements also. The time may be different, the execution time may be different, and here the execution time may be different. Okay, so just let us see if there is any time difference or not. Already we have seen the how to use that import. I have write some concept that import time. Okay, here I want to take some time, t1 equal to time dot time method, I think. Let us take here also the time after complete this program, t2 equal to, just I want to see how much time it has been to complete this program, t2 minus t1. So enter age 25. See, observe here, it is going to take what? 1.78. Okay, sorry, just I will execute here. Okay, now see, here I will execute the program. Now here I am entering enter 25. What happens? It has taken 1.84, some 72, something it has taken. Now observe, I am going to execute the same program by using -o. Just I am going to do the same thing. How much time it has taken? 1.61 only. That means if you see here the time difference, why it has taken more? Because of assert statements. Why it has taken less? Because of this, it is not executing the assert statements. Now once again I will execute. So you may not find the difference here. In the small programs we cannot find that. Anyway, once again I will try. Here I will let 25. So here it may take some more time, because it is a small programs, but you can identify the clear difference in the time when we are going for a large programs. So here see, it is taking very less time. Because of the memory, it may take more time here. Because of internal configuration, there is no problem. But if you see a large program, there is a chance of identifying this time, maybe. Okay, so if you don't want to, after debugging, if you want to disable the assert statements, then we have to use concept of what? -o, and we have to execute the program, so that what happens, the program is not going to execute that assert statements. Then we have to use this disabling concept. After entire debugging is completed, then we have to use this -o. This is nothing but what? Disabling the assertion statements. If you want to enable that, that means if you want to execute that one, if you want to execute those statements, then I have to write what? Just I have to write sample.py without writing any additional -o here. So next, if you want to disable, what I have to do? Just I have to place -o. Okay, this is the case. Okay, right. This is about the concept of debugging, and we have seen how to debug by using the concept of print, and we have seen the disadvantage of print, so that we have used the concept of assert statements. Okay, and there are two types of assert statements we are having. One is simple, and second one is what? Augmented. And next we have seen what is in simple, just we are going to write the condition. Just we are going to write what? In simple we are going to write condition, and in our augmented, what we are going to write? With the condition, I am going to write some description, I am going to write. Okay, right. This is about different type of assert statements we are having. Then if there is any assert statement in your program, if that condition is going to, already I have explained this, if this condition is true, then what happens? Your program will be executed successfully or completely. The program will be executed completely. Okay, if your condition is false, for example, then what happens? Your program is going to be terminated abnormally. It is going to be terminated. So for this we have seen some examples. Okay, so in next session we will see the concept of file handling.